Hello, welcome to the field where it's pretty windy and hopefully the microphone is helping. I'm testing out the new Pico patch from Menace. Do you see it here? Tiny and brilliant. But let's have a bit of fly of it. I'm just out with this little B-Fight 210, just doing a bit of rocking around the field. It was all long grass. I was hoping to do some swoops around and stuff and have some fun there, but some guys come and cut it. Never mind, we'll have to use what we can. But test some range, go around that tree, see how the signal holds out, that sort of thing. Just see how it does, so let's do it.
Now, just before we get to the flying, I wanted to share this picture that Greg of Menace had put on his website. I think we're all familiar with these sort of radiation diagrams you get with antennas, but I really like this one because what he's attempted to do is put the type of distance you might be expecting to get on 25 milliwatts. Now, of course, it depends enormously on the sort of conditions and antenna placements and all sorts, but the fact that Greg has tried to put some numbers on it and he's compared it with the Raptor and the Invader gives you a really good sort of impression of how it stacks up. And it's like, okay, it's not quite as wide as the Invader, but it gets more range, and of course it doesn't go behind yourself. I think that's all really visible from this, so I really like that. So well done for him for putting that together. Okay, we're up and at 'em, and I'm just having a bit of a fly around. I want to try and keep it relatively low and just, go behind these twin trees at the end, which is my normal sort of check out to see how the static is when I go behind a tree. There's always going to be some, of course, because there's an amount of blocking. It's just a question of how much it is. And the answer to that is, well, not much. It's pretty good. I like that. So I just figure I'll do a little bit more around these trees, just making sure I can go right to the end of the field here, nice and low, and just come on through, and again getting a tiny bit of static, but nothing too big there. All very flyable indeed, not a problem at all. So let's try and use this little sort of natural gate we've got through here, which blocks me a little bit. Everything is out in full bloom at the moment, so it's all full of leaves, and that's quite good for weakening the signal. And what I'm doing here is just a quick reversal of that little natural hole in the trees, just to pop on through, just to make sure it's all okay that way. Yep, all good. And this really gave me the confidence to try a slightly smaller gap on the right of those trees, which I've tried before and crashed. And possibly the fact that the grass was long has kind of covered it up. But yeah, this is the first time I've been through this one, and it was absolutely no hassle, even with those big thick trees. So that's good. So I went out the next day on my Kopis, and I should explain two things about the Kopis. One, is that the antenna that it ships with, it basically creates a null point as you fly. So I knew that was going to create some static, and I was keen to see how it would do. But unfortunately, what this is doing is really bad in the DVR. It wasn't at all bad to fly, and this is how I'm going, quite a reasonable distance along through these trees. This is a new spot, and I thought it would be easy because the path was clear. But actually seeing it through the FPV camera is awful. Now, all we had there was a little bit of snow in my goggles, but the DVR footage makes it look awful. But, I thought I'd share it anyway because I wanted to show what I was flying. Just the fact that it was actually a lot better than how it looked allows me to get through it. But that sort of flat light, I did struggle with a bit, I have to admit. Just knowing where I was, knowing where that path was. So, still out with the Kopis. I tried a few locations during the day, and this one I've done before. It used to be, it was a sort of quite a clear patch with just some newly planted trees about. Those newly planted things are now 5 foot, 6 foot of solid bushes. Once again, I'm disappointed with the DVR recording I get in this, because it doesn't really bear much resemblance to my signal quality, which was generally very good. I had little bits of static, but there were little crackles on the screen. This whole breakup of the screen is really annoying. What I think I will do is swap the Kopis antenna out. I can get a 90-degree angle in there, which I think will help. The only problem is it doesn't give much clearance. If that shifts a little bit, it's going to end up with some sort of prop strike. So there was no problem, again, doing the sort of full extent of this little pathway and getting through those trees. Despite what the DVR is telling you, it did not look like this. This is a real effort of try not to crash in those bushes, because although, you know, I've got my drone keeper style things on board to help me find it if it crashes and the battery disconnects, it's so thick, dense, and it's full of sharp, prickly, horrible bits. Yeah, so I wasn't doing anything too drastic. I also noticed that my rate seemed wrong for this. I'll have to go back and look at them. It was a little bit slow on the rolls and stuff. So this is the last battery I was flying with the Kopis, and it's just this small strip of land next to these electricity pylons, which I thought would be good fun to fly up and down on. Now we tend to get not quite so much breakup on this one because I was flying a bit faster. It meant that the antenna was pointing up a little bit more, and certainly helped the situation. Of course, the DVR still doesn't do any favours. It really does cause some weird issues. So what I have to say about the Pico patch, and despite the terrible DVR footage I've got here, which doesn't bear much resemblance to how it actually flew, is I really like it. I was carrying around the previous Invader patch in my Fat Shark goggles bag. I'm going to be replacing it with the Pico patch because I really like it and it seems to work really well. So any future flights you see from me will be using the combination of the Raptor Pagoda antenna on my diversity system along with the Pico patch, unless I mention otherwise. And generally the only reason would be if I'm flying something with a linear antenna, then I'd be using the Bandicoot instead. And if I'm testing antennas for someone else, then I'd be using those antennas. But for now, these seem absolutely rock solid. I'm really liking them, so a real strong suggestion you check them out. And price-wise is really very competitive. Well, I think it's something like $12.95 from the Menace website, which is just peanuts for a really good antenna. Of course, one thing the Pico patch won't help with is being able to see incredibly annoying sticky out little branches, and last LiPo of the day of course meant I came up a nice cropper down here. Of course I had to be right at the bottom of the hill, didn't it? It's a nice old walk down here, but as I said, fortunately I've got I had a drone keeper on board here and a battery stayed in anyway, so it was absolutely no hassle to find, and all I had is a slightly bent prop tip and it loosened one of the prop nuts which just had to be tightened up. So no big damage. Anyway, I hope that was helpful and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.